Daisy's bulling in the morning, said Hodder. So's mine. Well, we'd better keep them both back then. I'll go and phone the AI.
Ralston Cattle Breeding Centre.
Hodder, Steeple Farm.
One moment.
Hodder, Steeple Farm. I want service for 2 of my cows.
What are their names?
Graham and Daisy the third. I nominate Airdrie Master, first insemination.
Yes. And the other? The same bull?
Oh, no. Any beef shorthorn. It's our second service.
Right, Mr. Hodder. We'll be along in the morning. Have them tied up, won't you?
Of course. Cheerio.
It's as simple as that for the farmer. Graham and Daisy the third will stay in her stall at Steeple Farm, and Airdrie Master won't move more than 50 yards from his pen at the cattle breeding centre. Service will be carried out by artificial insemination. Mr. Hodder is an AI enthusiast. Some time ago, he kept a bull of his own. It wasn't a poor bull, but not a very good one either. He just couldn't afford a top-class bull. Today, with AI, he can. Let's see how this has come about, and with see what happens at an actual mating. This is a diagram of the cow's reproductive organs. When penetration is made in the natural way, a quantity of semen is produced which strikes against the entrance to the cervix. A part of this semen, and a part only, composed of millions of spermatozoa, makes its way into the fallopian tubes to meet the unfertilized egg. Most of these spermatozoa fall by the wayside, and only a few reach the ovum. And of these, one, and one only, will penetrate and fertilize the ovum. This is a diagram of a spermatozoon burying its head in the egg. As soon as this has happened, changes in the egg prevent the entry of any more spermatozoa, and the others die. The fertilized ovum begins to divide, and the process of reproduction commences. But what has happened to the rest of the semen? Most of it withers away and dies. Millions of spermatozoa, each of them with the power to fertilize and transmit the fine qualities of the sire, wasted. But need it be? Could the bull's wasted spermatozoa somehow be saved, kept alive and vigorous for wider use? That was the problem scientists set themselves to answer. Think what that means. No more worry over securing service for your cow. Much reduced risk of infectious disease. No more expense on second-rate bulls, and the benefit of service from carefully selected pedigree bulls. The answer was found. This is a cattle breeding centre, one of 35 similar stations which, with their many sub-centres, exist today all over the United Kingdom, operating a full service of artificial insemination for farmers and stock owners in its locality. Let's see how it works. See what goes on at the other end of a telephone call. It's early morning and the start of the day's work. This centre keeps a variety of breeds: Angus, Hereford, Jersey, Friesian, and Shorthorn. Fine specimens of each, selected for the purpose after the most intensive search. Bulls chosen for this morning's collection are being led out to the exercise yard. These selected bulls standing at an AI centre are kept under conditions of quarantine to eliminate the possibility of disease. They are supervised by veterinary officers and inspected regularly by others from the ministry. Their health examined, their fertility checked, their right to be here constantly under review. Now a teaser cow is put in position for the bull to mount so that the semen can be collected. Here's the first bull being led to the teaser and prepared for service. Meanwhile, in the cubicle inside the laboratory, the collection equipment is being prepared. This is the artificial vagina, a long, double-walled rubber tube, clean and sterile, and kept at the right temperature by a water jacket. That means that the first bull is ready for the collection. It takes long training to make a good collector. The whole operation is handled with care. And since the bull does not serve the teaser, the chance of spreading disease is virtually nil. As soon as the collection has been made, it is taken inside. Meanwhile, the other bulls wait for their turn. Now it's the turn of Airdrie Master, the choice of Mr. Hodder. Note that another bull is being used as a teaser. This is quite usual practice. A separate artificial vagina is used for each bull. A good collection, more than 5 cubic centimeters. The tube of semen is labeled with the bull's special mark and a color indicating the breed. 5 cubic centimeters, when diluted, will be enough for the insemination of 250 cows. The tube is passed at once through the hatch to the laboratory, which, for reasons of cleanliness, is completely sealed off from the rest of the buildings. On to the laboratory and the tests. Each new collection of semen is examined to see if it is up to standard for vigor and density. The assistant assesses the motility of the semen sample. There are further tests for color, for density. As well as being a measure of the quality of the bull's semen, these tests may be used to decide the amount of dilution. Semen is usually diluted 50 times, but the rate may be up to 100 times to provide sufficient quantity for field use without loss of fertility of the semen. The diluent is based on egg yolk or skim milk. Both these substances protect spermatozoa against sudden changes in temperature, such as placing semen in a refrigerator at the usual storage temperature of 5 degrees centigrade. Now the semen is divided into smaller quantities, part to be placed in the refrigerator for use later in the day by the inseminators, part to be dispatched for use at the center's 3 sub-centers. The collections are over for the day, but it's now 8 o'clock, and the office has just opened. Mr. Hodder made his call for service yesterday, so his tag is already waiting with full instructions for the inseminator. Now the first call for service comes in, the first of what will soon be a flood.
I'll put you through. Yes, Mr. Garside. Frisian Anna Lukici Zydeplot. Would you mind spelling that? A-N-N-A, yes.
Yes, Mr. Thorpe.
L-U-I-K-J-E.
Yes. The first insemination, yes.
Z-U-I-D-E-R-K-L-O-P, yes. Nominating Cavender Rupert Jan. Yes, we're able to do that, no difficulty at all. This morning. Goodbye.
The pace hots
Good
up.
morning.
The day's calls for each inseminator grow. Requests for service can usually be met from the bulls standing at the centre, or by special demand with deep frozen semen brought in from other centres. Many farmers, like Mr. Hodder, for a small extra fee nominate a particular sire. A good bull is in demand. How does he get chosen for AI work in the first place? Well, in the early days, it was a question of watching out for likely animals, gathering what performance figures you could about their dams and sires, their brothers, sisters and daughters, and buying them. But nowadays, it's done far more scientifically. At the headquarters of the Milk Marketing Board is the Bureau of Records, in which are stored details of lactations of every officially recorded cow and progeny tests of bulls. When a young bull is considered for AI, a pedigree is prepared. The lifetime records of his dam and granddams are entered, and the progeny records of his sire and grandsire. The yield of these animals can be altered by skilled management and feeding. In order to measure the worth of a bull, the milk records of his heifers are compared with heifers by other sires in the same herds. From the sum of the comparisons in each herd, a contemporary comparison for the bull is calculated, which may be plus or minus so many gallons. The more herds that a bull's daughters milk in, the more accurate the assessment. To improve milk production, sons of bulls with a plus contemporary comparison are selected. A selection team considers the pedigree of a young bull at one of their weekly sessions. They discuss all the available information. Then a panel of local breeders reviews the pedigree. They inspect the bull for their local centre. This panel, which is chosen by the members of the centre, checks such points as the conformation of the bull, his trueness to breed type, and the way he moves. His dam is inspected for similar points, and attention is paid to her udder and teats. Perhaps his granddam can be seen, and his half-sisters. The sire's daughters are also examined. A veterinary officer attached to the local centre must inspect the bull for his fertility, health, and suitability for AI. And later, the Ministry of Agriculture's veterinary officer and the livestock officer also examine the bull. If the bull passes all these examinations, he is approved to stand at an AI centre. Airdrie Master was purchased in this way as a young bull several years ago. When his first daughters came into milk, they were inspected by a panel of breeders. About 20 daughters were seen on a number of farms, and they were rated for the various points of conformation. Airdrie Master's first 60 heifers, milked in 10 herds, averaged 900 gallons at 4% butterfat, and averaged 50 gallons more than other heifers in the same herds that year. Because he has bred outstanding daughters, he is now available throughout the country through the use of deep frozen semen, and he has also been mated to several selected cows in the hope that a bull calf may be born that can be reared for use in AI. One of the big discoveries affecting the use of AI was the fact that semen could be stored at the low temperature of minus 70 degrees centigrade or less, almost indefinitely. The key to success was the addition of glycerol to the normal semen diluents, which enabled the spermatozoa to survive freezing. Initially, the semen is diluted in the normal way. After 5 hours, a further dilution takes place, adding the glycerol diluent at set intervals of time, while the semen is still in the refrigerator. Accurate identification of the semen is essential, scented with full particulars bull. 1 ampoule is sufficient for 1 insemination. The ampoules are filled, sealed by machinery, and prepared for the freezing bath. Here, the temperature brought down by stages, and the temperature drop automatically recorded as a check. Great care is necessary at all stages of the process, and temperature after cooling, the semen is placed in a storage cabinet, which will retain till years, provided the temperature is never allowed to rise. Solid carbon dioxide is used to maintain this low temperature. Frozen semen has many uses, the most important being for nominated service, where a certain bull is named for an individual cow. But it is also used to give service to minor breeds, and as partial insurance against the loss of a valuable or potentially valuable bull. This consignment is being sent to South Wales, but it could easily be to anywhere in Britain, or for that matter, the world. The freezing techniques have made export of bull semen a practical proposition. Success will be achieved no matter where it is sent, provided the temperature control is maintained. Back at the center, the inseminators are ready to go out on their rounds. They are handed their sterilized equipment and semen from the laboratory. The packs are made up. The tubes of semen necessary for the various calls of the day are placed in cold vacuum flasks. The sterile insemination tubes put in their container, with another container to hold the used ones. At Steeple Farm, Mr. Hod has also been getting ready. The cows are in and tied. The cowman brings a bucket of warm water with soap and towel. The inseminator puts on his protective gown. An insemination pipette wrapped in sterile paper for protection is removed from the kit box. The test tube of Airdrie Master's semen is taken out of the cold vacuum flask and the semen drawn into the pipette. The inseminator slips on a rubber protective glove before going into the cowshed. This is very different from the way Grammond Daisy's own mother was conceived. Routine, but always requiring care and skill on the part of the inseminator. What he's doing now is trying to find the cow's cervix. He has to feel for it through the wall of the gut. Not always easy. A high conception rate is a matter of pride with every inseminator. As much as anything else, it depends on planting the insemination tube fairly into the cervix. It's done. In 9 months' time, there'll be a fine new pedigree calf in Steeple Farm. Now to wash and go through it all again with Mabel. Mabel's not a very good milker. Her calf will be raised for beef, so she's being crossed with a beef shorthorn. This wouldn't have been so easy in the old days, but now, with artificial insemination, it's just a question of selecting another tube of semen. Crossbreeding for beef is a growing practice. And with AI, it's easy to switch from pure dairy to beef breeding as the needs of the market change. Today, the same methods of selection, based on performance, are being developed for beef breeding. Just routine. Another 15 visits to make before the day's ended. Yes, it's a year later at Mr. Hodder's farm. Did someone say routine? Look at that fine pedigree Ayrshire dairy heifer and the beef shorthorn cross in the background. These are the kind of results now being achieved by artificial insemination. There are millions of other calves that bear witness to the success of AI in raising the standard of the national herd. AI brings the power of scientific pedigree breeding to every farmer, large or small, free from the risk of disease or the trouble and expense of natural service. AI is a revolution.